everybody, welcome to the live stream. It looks like the chat's already getting packed, so welcome. I'm glad you guys showed up early a little bit. I'm a little bit kind of early compared to normal. According to my clock, 2 minutes early today, which means that's probably like 5 minutes early normal. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing good today. We're gonna keep working on that lidded box. And if you didn't see the first part, I'm kind of fumbling my way through this. I don't do these lidded, I think I've done literally three boxes in my life, so kind of going slow and taking my time, but we got the bottom part done. I just kind of finished up some of the sanding, polishing and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that's left on the bottom is just the bottom. So, but it's looking good. This thing's looking really awesome. I wasn't sure which direction to go. I was thinking about leaving it kind of frosted looking, but I thought, let me just see what it looks like fully glossy. And I kind of like this too. You could go either way. If you wanted to go for like a frosted look on clear resin, the beauty of that is basically you just quit sanding at maybe like 1,000 to 2,000, somewhere around there. So in essence, it actually just gets you out of some work, but it does give you that kind of frosted look. It's not just being lazy. It's just a technique to get a certain kind of, sheen. But I decided I wanted to go and see, how does it look fully polished, and it's looking pretty cool. So right now I have the lid ready to go, and I did a little bit of work on that. All I did was, actually I'm a little bit mad at myself. So part of the reason that I kind of started that thing was I wanted to get the lid fitted very well, like take my time, and I ended up not getting it fit very well after doing it, on my own and taking my time supposedly. Somehow I just took a little bit too much off. It fits fine, but it's not like a snug friction fit where you could, put the bottom on and turn the whole thing. So I'm a little bit, I was like, oh, well, oops. I could maybe try to fix it, but it's fine. And I don't really need to put it on there to turn it necessarily. It's not really that important. So one of those things you learn as you go. But here's what it's looking like. I know it's kind of a little bit blown out. Let me turn off I have a light on that. It might give you a little bit more detail. So I'm going to flip this little thing around. It's a little bit bright maybe, but so it's looking pretty good. I got everything, and I went with, we're going to have the tenon on the top. Now, I have to be honest, I actually really like doing it the other way, where the tenon part is on the base. I don't really like having things kind of sticking down off my lid. I realize I've only done 3, but it's just I like the looks of having the lid kind of be all the way to the outside and not having this little tenon thing. But so what we're going to do today, I did kind of flatten this surface and I cut in, to get the tenon. But what I want to do is just kind of dome this out a little bit. There's not really that much work to do on this. I'm just going to kind of hollow a little bit. There's not that much thickness. I mean, we're only talking like maybe 3/4 inches to the top where I don't want to go through. So just a little slight bit of hollowing on the inside of the lid. I'm going to sand up and try to polish this up as well as possible. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to flip it and we're going to kind of clean up the top, and then we're going to make a finial. I'm not even going to call it a finial. It's not going to be one of those ornate, crazy tiny spire finial things. I would kind of consider it more just like a knob. This thing's going to be, there's just no good way to grab it. And so I want to put something where you can kind of grab a hold of it. And I got an interesting idea that I want to try out. I don't really do a lot of like wood turning, like most of it's like resin stuff. Half of it is more experimental. Like I just want to see how blanks look. So, it's not like my big focus is on wood turning. So I want to try something that I haven't really done before in wood turning. I'm going to try to take, I think it's a piece of ash, and I'm going to try and ebonize it. I thought, because I kind of wanted to have a black little knob on the top. So it should be kind of fun. I have a way that I used to do ebonizing that's very simple. And so I thought I'd just kind of turn a very simple little knob on the top and ebonize it, and then hopefully everything will work out the way that I have in my head. We'll have to see how this goes. Bare minimum, I have a very nice looking cup. So even if the lid and all this other stuff doesn't work, I'm digging the cup part, the bottom. So anyway, so let's see who's all here. Let's stop real quick. One thing I need to do, I finally found Julie's sticker. I didn't realize I hadn't checked the P.O. box for like weeks. the problem is we aren't going into town much right now, and that's on top of that, it's like totally opposite direction from me going to work or doing anything. So I don't go there, and my wife hasn't been, so kind of realized that we hadn't checked it. So I found them. We're going to put that up on the pressure pots in 1 second, but first I'm going to stop and see who's here. I know there's a lot of people here kind of early. So Dominic, Kim, Billy, and let's see, who else? Brian's here. Nice, welcome. And scrolling down, Eddie's here. I saw Eddie. And who else? Scott. And Jay Campbell, Jeff. Amber's here. Awesome. And Mike McEwen's here. What's up, buddy? Let's see here. I actually thought about you. I realize this has nothing to do with where you live, but baseball started back up, and I was looking at the scores, and there was like the Toronto Blue Jays, who are not actually even playing in Canada right now, but it was just Canadian, and I was like, oh, I wonder what Mike's up to. It just made me randomly think of that. And then Steve is here. Let's see here. DK. Nancy's here. Nice. Jacob and Mark. Awesome. Welcome, guys. Philip's here. And Chad's here. What's up, man? Let's see here. Habib's here. Man, lots of people. Geez, Ozzy. No, not by nature. I like that. That's cool. Nice. And George. Sweet. Susan, too. All kinds of people just kind of popping up. Oh, and I'm not sure how to say that. Pot Guider? Pot Guider. That's a tough one. Hopefully I said that right. Welcome. All right, so first things first, let's get this sticker up on the pressure pot. We've been trying to figure out where this sticker was. Julie's been asking me, did you get the stickers? And I'm like, I don't know, I think, maybe, I'm not sure. So I got it. So I got this camera already set up. Ooh, look at this. It's already got a little fold bendy thing. I like that. So I'm gonna take a little bit of denatured alcohol and just kind of clean off the surface of the pot where I'm gonna put it. And we'll get it up there, get it ready, rocking and rolling. Let's get these stoners out of the way. And we'll put it right here. You'll be right by, I think it's Matt and Kim. All right, so here we go. Sticker time. This is a big one. I'm gonna put it down here, kind of overlapping a little bit. There we go. Look at that. You're stuck. Thanks for the sticker. I appreciate it, Julie. All right, so the only other thing that I have to mention, I guess, is, go back to this view. So we got the pine cone blanks from last Friday. I got pictures and videos and all that kind of stuff. So some people were asking, are you going to turn any of them? And I specifically made that extra with the mini pine cone with the blurple in black for myself. That was actually kind of part of the reason why I wanted to kind of just break that off and make one. So I'll be turning this. This is actually what I have planned for next week's Wednesday. So we got a pen blank going and back to something that I am very comfortable turning. So that one should go pretty smooth. So I'll be turning that, but the rest of them are up on my website. So I'm just going to put a link to my short runs section. I always put the stuff that I make on the show in the short runs area. I just call it kind of short runs because I'm not necessarily going to keep stock. The rest of my pen blanks, the ones in the other category, those I keep inventory up on. But the short runs, it's where I can it's where I put the stuff that we make on the show. And if I'm just kind of playing around or want to do some kind of a limited run type thing of something, then I put it there. Now, I will say that there are a few that I actually am keeping inventory that are under this short run section. The problem is I don't really want to move them because I think people know where they are. So the glitter blanks, I'm keeping those inventoried. I'm trying to think, the autism awareness blanks, and just a couple of them that the clowning around and cosmic disco, I'm keeping those all up on inventory, but most of them I'm not necessarily going to restock, or I do it infrequently. So just to let everybody know how that works. So there's a link to that stuff over on my website if anybody wants to pick them up. They turned out really cool. If you didn't see after I cut them up, the little mini pine cones. One thing I was worried about was in the darker purple and black, or blurple and black. The pine cones look kind of dark on the outside, but once you cut into them, that kind of lighter brown color really popped out. So those things look good. And then the copper and blue was really striking. And then that like 2-inch little kind of handle stopper blank with all the little mini pine cones and all the colors really was pretty cool. So it was a really good batch. You guys picked some awesome colors on that one. So let's see here. I'm just gonna double check and make sure I'm not missing anything. I sort of got it. Pot guider. Hopefully, I don't know. If you let me know, I'll try to say it right. If I'm kind of missing it, might be. I'm trying to think of another pronunciation and I can't think of one. So, sorry about that. Let's see. Oh, Amber's getting some stickers going. Nice. Hey, Dave, how's it going? And one other real quick thing for the people that may have to leave earlier. So next Friday's stream is usually the resin casting one, but it's the first Friday, so that's for the patrons. So if you want to join in the fun on that, then you can head over to patreon.com/nvwoodworks. And for all the people that are patrons, we're going to be doing a big pine cone blank. I figured let's just keep the pine cone thing rolling. I'm going to make a big one. I've wanted to make a lamp type blank. So it's going to be a big 6-inch cylinder. We're just going to dump a lot of resin in there, and I have a bunch of pine cones. I don't know if you guys, yeah, you can see them. I have all these bags of things that I didn't really want. They didn't work perfect for pen blanks that I usually do. So I got lots of those things. We're just going to fill it up and toss some resin in there. I thought it'd be pretty fun. So I'm still trying to work on the, I need to do this before Friday, obviously, but I'm still trying to work out the mold and everything. I was going to try to save resin a little bit. I don't do that a lot of times. I usually just kind of dump, full things and then end up wasting a lot of it out. And you can put, either wood or other things in there. And I thought, well, maybe I can try to do that. But for work holding, there's a couple reasons that I don't usually do that anymore. Frankly, you can run into problems. If you're going to put just a big piece of wood and you don't get it fully sealed off, then you're going to get a moisture reaction with the Lumelite. So I don't like that. Don't necessarily want to have to stabilize it just to have a base type thing. And then the other thing, I guess would just be it's just more difficult, right? And so it's kind of one of those things that I'm like, whatever, just dump a bunch of resin in there and turn it out or drill it out. So I'm still working that out, but that's what we're going to be doing now. Don't worry, guys. Anybody that's not a patron, I do break out that demo portion so that you'll be able to see the pine cone, lamp blank being made. I just have to edit that part out, and I usually shorten those quite a bit. But you can see the whole process of me making it still. It's just going to come down the road a little bit. And then I just get rid of the Q&A part. That's kind of what for the patrons. We do kind of a live Q&A and kind of, just hang out kind of thing. So anyway, just wanted to get that out real quick, let you guys know, but I will be doing that, the pen. I don't know where it went now. I'll be turning that pen on Wednesday next week. So don't worry about that. Regular YouTube stuff. So let's switch to this view. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to bring the camera in so you guys can kind of see. I had it all set up. This is the problem with me setting the camera up. Then I want to move it. I had the position all pretty good, but I'd like to I think I'm going to come to the front actually and show you guys. I got cords everywhere, and I really wish there was a wireless camera system. There are some, but I don't really want to pay $10,000 and probably have it be kind of a piece of junk. All right, so I got to zoom out a little bit. So let me fix this here. So let me just unplug the camera. That way I can get it to do what I want. Come kind of like right about there maybe. And so I'll show you what this thing looks like kind of put together. It's looking pretty cool. I think it goes about like that. And it'll stay kind of, but it's not, it's not like a super friction fit. It's actually like a perfect fit for like the final fit, but I couldn't turn it. I could put like a rag in there, a paper towel or something, and it would probably stay to turn. But the way I'm going to do this, I don't think that I'm going to need to worry about any of that. So it's looking pretty good. I'm digging it. This thing's looking pretty cool. Got a couple little areas where there's a little bit of that color shift powder kind of popping out. Do you see that? Or I think I don't think it's color shift. I think it was just blue, the iridescent, or what is that called? interference blue, I think. It adds kind of a nice little touch, little highlight. All right, so like I said, what I'm going to do here is we're just going to kind of hollow this out a little bit, just kind of dish it. If you can dish it, you can take it. And then we'll just kind of start working on, what I plan to do is I'm just going to flip it and use the, to work kind of to finish off the top of this. I'm just going to flip it and use my coal jaws. That's kind of a much easier way to go. So hopefully that will work. I haven't actually tried to see if it'll fit. I have like the biggest coal jaws that Easy Wood Tools sells. So hopefully it'll work. But first things first, we're going to pull out the #1 hollower because it's the #1 tool. And we'll give this thing a little bit of a spin. I'm going to set up my light. It may be a little bit bright for you guys, but I kind of need to have a little extra light so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to fire up my phone too so I can see, try to keep up a little bit with the chat here and there. My channel, go to my channel. There it is. Oh, there I am. Turn it down. Turn it down. Yeah. Volume down. Okay. Hey, Doug made it. What's up, man? All right, so I think, let's see here. Pot Geeter, okay. I see, okay, cool, nice, awesome. Sweet, okay, so let me get my glasses on, get the #1 hollower out. It is raring to go. Make sure that I'm pretty much in the middle, I am. Give it a spin and let's go. We're going forward. I think I'm gonna pull this in. I'm gonna double check and make sure this isn't completely blocking you guys' view before I move on. No, that should be okay, I think. Hit this. And like I said, there's not a lot of meat, and I'm gonna waste off, it kind of goes up on the top, but most of that is gonna be coming in. I don't wanna really factor that in. I really just kind of have a very slight round over. So. And so my plan is, I don't want to make this super thin. So I'm going to kind of stay a little ways away from that. Maybe about like an 1/8 inch on one side, something like that. But just kind of add, so it's not just this big flat, ugly looking tenon thing. just stop and see where we're at here. Like I said, just a little bit of detail. I don't want to do a whole lot with this. Just don't really want it. I didn't like the look of it just sitting there being flat. Another thing that you could do, I don't think that I'd recommend it on this because I want it to be fairly clear, but you could put little, lines or whatever in there. I don't usually do a lot of that, but it does look pretty cool when people do it. I think that'd be better if you had a more opaque color. But I think for clear, it would just be totally wasted, the effect. Maybe if you like filled it or something with something, some sort of a paint, that might actually be kind of cool looking. Never seen that done before. All right, I'm going to take a little bit more of this kind of flat thing down. I think we're getting there. I could sit here and play with this all day, but this is basically, I just wanted a little bit of a dome, so it's not just flat. The other thing about that is you might, once we get this thing polished, it might be an interest. I don't know if it's going to change anything, but it may provide like kind of an interesting, appearance of things being rounded, looking in from the top, basically. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. And it's relatively smooth. That's about as good as I'm gonna get. There's a little bit of a nib right in the center, but sandpaper will take care of that. I think that's as good as I want. Let me, I'm gonna move this thing out of the way real quick. I'll give you guys kind of a little bit more of a sideways view of this thing, hopefully. Maybe see the contour of it a little bit better. Just adds a little bit of, I don't know, just looks nicer, smoother to me than that flat tenon thing. Let's see what's going on here. You guys are talking about tagging. Sometimes I miss the notifications, I guess. I don't know which way, if you're asking, like, I usually do respond if somebody tags me, but sometimes I don't get the notification. So, knocked your mailbox off the post. Oh my God. That's hilarious. All right, so I'm gonna call that good. I almost slid my my banjo off my lathe, the reason I didn't start sooner was because I remembered I wanted to wax the bedways because it was making all kinds of noise. It's all, you know, like I don't like. So I waxed the bedways in the bottom of the banjo, and man, that thing just, give it a push and it just keeps on going. All right, so let's do some sanding. That was a pretty exciting quick hollowing, but that's all I really want to do on this, like I said. And I don't need, the way that I'm going to grip this, it's going to be on the outside, so we got plenty of meat. I don't have to worry about trying to grab the tenon in here. I'm just going to grab it on the outside with the coal jaws, and hopefully everything will go the way that I think it's supposed to go. Oh, we're not talking about that anymore. Oh man. We're not talking about the mailbox or the tagging. You got to let me know what's going on here. All right, so I think I'm just gonna, out the gate, we're gonna go with a little bit of I'm gonna see if I can get 240 to work real quick, and I think I'm just gonna wet sand out off the bat. So I'm gonna turn this off. I've been really enjoying, I generally tend to get better results wet sanding most of it. A lot of times I'll dry sand at the beginning, which I don't know, I might do that. I might dry sand with 240, but I think I'm gonna start wet sanding at 240 as well. So let's just see if let's see how this thing looks. I need light. The reason I like to dry sand the first, a lot of times like the first grit, is that way I can kind of see, you know, if tool marks are super evident, then I can just switch back and forth without having to dry it off and do all that stuff. It's just a little bit faster and it's not really gonna hurt anything. So let's see, we gotta slow that down. Whoa, Bessie. I'm going to slow this down to, I don't know, about 300 or so. Let's just see how the 240 does. I might have to drop down to 180. Just going to turn my little fan on. That's for just a little bit of dry sanding. That should just keep the dust out of my face if it's pointed at me. Got to get it pointed at you. Yeah, I think this will work. I got that thing pretty smooth. Didn't really have too many tool marks, so that's, the better you can get it with the tool, the better off you are, because you can start higher sanding. But at the same time, I also, I think one of the problems that I've run into is you really want to do a good job on that first grit. You know, realistically, you want to do a good job on every grit, but I think that it really pays to make sure that you're starting with no tool marks and everything's like perfectly, you know, in this case, sanded to 240, you know, wherever you're sanding at. Because I think that deeper scratches, if you don't get them out with that first grit, they will come back later, but you won't necessarily notice them right away. So I think, I don't know, a lot of people kind of, I've heard a lot of people say that they kind of recommend, you know, sand the most with your first grit and your last, kind of. All the rest in between is just kind of taking the previous grit scratches out, which I kind of agree with. But and obviously that last grit obviously is kind of important because you want to make sure that you've gotten it to the highest grit you can get. But I do think, I think there is something to that first grit as well. I can see how that makes sense. And a lot of times, if you don't clear off the dust, you don't notice. Like I can see a tool mark right on the edge here. So, you know, really inspect it. I think the last few projects that I've been turning kind of live, and I've been a little bit, I don't know, I've been getting a little bit frustrated with the sanding part. It's because I'm not really inspecting it as much as I really should, as much as I usually do. And the fact is, I've been turning larger things. Pens, I can do those in my sleep. They just don't require that much time, and I get consistent results all the time. But when you start moving up to things where it's hard to hold the paper, and it's, you know, weird shapes and just a lot more surface area, you just have to realize that it's going to take longer, and you really, you know, it does you a lot of good to really stop, either blow it off. A lot of times it's a good idea to clean it off with denatured alcohol. That'll kind of also really show some of the scratches that you might have missed that are a little bit deeper. Because what ends up happening is if the dust settles into a crack, you know, not a crack, but, you know, like a groove, deeper scratch basically, then you're not going to be able to pick that up. You're not going to see it at that point. So I just hit it with, like I said, a little denatured alcohol. I'm going to blow it off, and I'm going to try to get you guys close. It's a lot of times these like super fine scratches and things like that are really hard to see on camera unless you get, you know, like the perfect angle. So I'm going to try to do the best I can to show you guys what I'm seeing. Focus. There, it's kind of focusing a little bit. Let me scoot up a little bit. There. So I don't know if that's really super coming through, but just kind of looking at this, and I want to just make sure that I got all 240 grit scratches there, and I can still see kind of a little bit of a band right here. It's probably not good. I'm going to hit this with my super powered light. Yeah, I still have a little bit of work right here. And what ends up happening is I can keep sanding up, and everything looks good. And then what ends up happening is you're going to have this weird line at the end, and you're going to be like, I thought that I had everything. But that'll show through. So I'm going to do a little bit more work down on the outside edge here, but I would say that everything else looks pretty good. So just a little bit more time, and I think we'll be good to go. Let's see if I can, yeah, I think that'll work. Whatever way you have to do it to make sure that you're seeing, you know, how well you've sanded it, do it. You know, I mean, you know, you can even get out the magnifying lenses. That will really help out. Get a high powered light. That really helps. Worst case scenario, drop down a grit, sandpaper, which I can still see that line, and I'm just about ready to drop down to 180 just to make sure that I've gotten that out. So I want to make sure that, you know, I usually understand a lot of times why I'm not getting good results, and sometimes I don't really explain that. So that's why I'm really going in depth about some of this stuff today, because as long as you know what's going on, then you can fix it. So I've just dropped down to 180, and that should hopefully take care of that tool mark that I got down there. It's always tough, you know. You want to start higher. like I just said, you know, you're best off starting sanding at a higher grit. However, it can end up taking longer if you do that. So, or you'll just maybe get, you know, worse results basically in the end. So go as low as you can, or as high as you can. But don't be afraid to drop down real quick and take care of it. Take care of business, guys. That's the name of the game. All right, now there are a couple looking, like looking things here. I'm gonna hit it with some denatured alcohol, but I'm pretty sure at this point we are good to go on this dome. Might spend a little bit more time with that 240, but what I plan to do is actually start wet sanding at 240. I just wanted to use the dry paper to kind of get things rolling here and make sure that I've gotten the tool marks out. So I have a little bit of work to do on this little lip. There's a few scratches. I'm going to try and take this 240 grit and just see. I'm going to see what it looks like, basically. After I hit it real quick. I think 240 will be good there. And then we already have the outside pretty high. I might just kind of touch it up, start maybe at like, I don't know, 1,000 grit maybe. And just make sure that I've gotten the most of this outside top of the lid good to go. But I think we're good. I think I'm going to switch to wet sanding and then we'll just keep going up. Hey, what's up? Tony's here. How's it going, man? No, I don't really have sponge-backed paper. SpongeBob paper. I have Mirka Abralon. Frankly, I don't think that stuff works very well. I get the best, I'm really finding that I get the best results with silicon carbide paper. It just seems to cut the best out of everything that I've used, even Abranet. Abranet can be a little bit aggressive, I think, on plastics. Maybe it's just me. But I think the other thing is silicon carbide. So like your wet dry sandpaper. I just think that it has a lot more grit across the surface. But you're forced to wet sand. If I have to dry sand, I'm going to use Abranet all day, but I wouldn't use silicon carbide for that because it is so close grained or whatever. But I don't know. I'm really finding that I'm getting it seems to be the fastest way to go is just wet sand with this stuff. So these are the, and I'm sure I could, like stick it, like glue it to some kind of a sponge or something like that, but I think it'll be all right. This is the Abralon product, but this stuff's really expensive, and frankly, it doesn't cut very well. It doesn't seem like it. I can spend way more time messing with that stuff than if I just pull out the wet dry. All right, so we got 220, 400. I'm just going to get all my sandpapers ready to go here. 6,000. This one was a 400. I got to write on the back of these things. I really wish that they would just color code every single piece of sandpaper, and it'd be even better if it was like a uniform color. Like all 400 grit is green or something. Just, God. Come on, guys. Throw me a bone. I want to get my sandpaper mixed up. Another really serious tip is really don't just throw away sandpaper if you've used it already and it's starting to feel like it's not working. Go get a new piece. It just isn't worth, messing around with, I don't think. Purple sandpaper, huh? Oh man. All right, so we got our water. And let's do this. Can you guys, what are you guys seeing? Okay, so let's get this light out of the way a little bit. And I've even tried like the Scotch-Brite stuff. So Mirka's a pretty high quality. Some people might just say it's expensive, but I've been using Mirka products for 15 years at this point, so I know what they have. And so they have like a Scotch-Brite type product, and I've tried that, and it's supposed to be like 3 something grit, 300 and 360 or something like that. And I mean, I could spend days just sitting there sanding it, and it doesn't work, because that stuff is really good for following contours, but it just doesn't, I don't know, doesn't sand the same way as you know, just even Abernet, like a normal sandpaper works. I just got to go with what and this goes for you guys. I'm not saying that you should use silicon carbide. It just, you got to go with whatever you get results with, you know, or what you're used to, I guess, in a sense. I think that the tough part is when you're doing something where there's like just unstabilized wood. You know, you can wet sand it. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything really, but that can cause problems with other stuff. If it's retaining a bunch of moisture, you might have to wait to move on to other steps and stuff. And, you know, I don't really love having wood that typically I've dried it like completely, like it is dry, zero moisture. And then adding a bunch of water to it, that's not really, that could make it actually expand in the casting, possibly, depending. So that, you know, and that's where I can kind of see where those abrasive pastes can kind of come in. They'll take the place of a few wet sanding steps. But I still haven't really been able to get those things to work really well for me. I don't think I'm even going to touch the outside of this tenon. I don't want to take it down anymore. It's already loose, you know. I would actually say that it's actually like the perfect fit for the base. I don't necessarily want it to be super tight. So I'm just not, I don't think that it's that necessary to mess with that. Can maybe just kind of give it a little bit of polishing. It might kind of brighten it up, but I'm not going to sit here and go through the grit sanding that little bit. The top part, yes, but not the diameter. No, I don't even know what Rhino-Lux paper is. I sing the SpongeBob song. Don't throw it away. What are we throwing away? Oh, the sandpaper? No way, I ain't turning that stuff. Christina's here, what's up? Nice. Welcome to the stream. Hope you didn't have to work hard tonight. All right, so I think that's looking pretty good. Let me hit it with the light and just kind of get in here. I think that's good. Yeah, I think we're good. Move up to 400 here. That's not the 400, this is. I picked up 2 pieces. The tough thing is, you know, everybody's kind of mentioning different products and all this stuff. I can't try every single thing. That's, you know, I've tried a few different things, and it's one of those, that's one of the tough things, because it's not, you could spend a lifetime trying every type of different product and all that kind of stuff. If you really gave it the testing that it really requires to compare, you know. And it's tough because a lot of times I think I get kind of, I don't get very good results. I try something once, you know, and it doesn't really work. It doesn't change anything because each type of thing, you know, you got to get used to it a little bit. So it's almost not even, I don't know. I fall into the trap of trying different things, not really getting great results right out the gate, and, you know, just going back to what I'm used to. And so it kind of almost lends itself to just pick something and just figure it out. You know, I don't know. I kind of learned that lesson, although I will say that I learned that lesson learning how to sharpen chisels and plane irons. I tried every single method and tool and jig and all, you know, everything. I mean, I had that little, it looks like it's not the actual Tormek, but I bought the jet version of a Tormek. That thing was worthless. I couldn't get that to work very well. I tried the scary sharp method, which that worked pretty well, but I didn't love how much sandpaper you had to constantly keep wasting. So I didn't love that idea. I never actually tried oil stones. I just went for wet stones. I don't know, and I think there's a couple other things. And there was a clear winner in that. I tried doing it by hand. Not very good at that. Trying to get the angles right. And what I ended up finding out was I did get the best results with wet stones, water stones. So I guess in that case I did, you know, it paid to kind of go through a bunch of different things, but man, it can really get expensive experimenting with that, with different things. I think I'm going to switch directions and try and get this from the top. I think that'll just be easier for me to kind of maybe get in there. All right, so let's see how we're doing. I think that should be pretty good with the 400. Yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. I think I'd say that passes. So we're going to move to 600 now. Let's see here. See what you guys are up to in the chat. You've been on vacation? Oh man. I don't know what it is about August. I think August, for me, it starts getting to the point where it's like, it's hot, you know. And I want to, August is a good month, and I don't know, I would imagine that a lot of people kind of feel this way because it is a pretty popular vacation month, I think. But it's just, the days seem hotter and longer, and I just want to be lazy in August. I guess that's maybe what they mean by the dog days of summer. Just want to sit in a lake and do nothing. One thing I didn't mention about the base of this little thing, I didn't use buffing wheels. I mean, you can't really, it would be very difficult to get on the inside of that thing, so I didn't even mess with it even on the outside. So what I actually did was I just applied, well, I went way high with the zona papers. I usually don't do that. I usually stop after 2 or 3 grits of the zona. But I decided just to kind of go all the way up, and then I just, on the lathe with a piece of paper towel, I just used some of that car polish, the 105, and that seemed to work pretty decent. I do kind of like the buffing wheels better even with the car polish, but you know, for things that you really can't get on the buffing wheels, or you know, they don't really fit in there, that's not a bad way to go, is just to kind of, you know, use that polish and try and find a soft. The tough thing is, you know, in a perfect world you'd say, well, just go grab a you know, cotton type cloth or something like that, but I don't like using anything that's you know, that the lathe could grab. You know, if the lathe grabs a piece of paper towel, it just rips it, and you know, no big deal. No danger involved with that. So these ones, it seems like the blue ones are pretty soft. I don't know if there's like a grit level associated, but if you're trying to apply, you know, like a super high polish, you know, you want to go with something soft. So I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on an applicator pad. There are, like, you know, kind of smaller buffing pad things, and I know that there's like cotton, like face stuff, like makeup remover or applicator discs and stuff. I've seen that. I don't know if it really makes that much difference. You know, just some thoughts. It didn't seem to be that big of a deal. It worked fine just using a paper towel. Seemed like. Whoa. All right, so we're at 600 grit right now. I'm gonna go to 1000 next. Let's dry this off and see what this thing's looking like. Kind of have a little bit of that sanding dust slurry kind of stuck in the corner of that thing. Got that out. So let's see where we're at. So far, so good, I think. It's looking pretty good. Now, one way to help, and this is something, I don't want to do this today, and I don't usually do this on the stream because it takes longer, but I personally don't want to take too much time sanding on the streams, and I'm sure that nobody else wants to watch sanding forever. But really the best way to go, if you want to be absolutely sure that you've gotten, you know, the previous grit scratches out, you know, run the lathe and run, let's say, you know, I just did 600 grit. With a radial, you know, it's just putting the scratches in around it. Now that, you know, on this next step with 1000, the best way to go is to do hand sanding with the lathe off and go in one direction until you've gotten all of the radial scratches out. That is absolutely hands down the best way to sand a piece, and know for sure that you're ready to move on when there's no more, you know, whatever direction, the opposite direction scratches. So let's do that. Well, and I've played around with doing this. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to do it after each single grit, but it is nice, you know, 1000 grit for me isn't a bad, you know, we're pretty high up. If I can be absolutely certain that I've gotten this to 1,000 grit, then I can be pretty sure that this is going to turn out great, you know, going forward. What you don't want is to have, you know, 220, 400, even 600 grit scratches left. And then flip it around and go the same direction on the other side. But this is by far the most bulletproof method of knowing that you've done a good job sanding. And you can do it where you alternate after each grit. I mean, that is, you know, if you want to be absolutely sure on each grit, that's the way to do it. You will absolutely get perfect results doing that. But it is a little bit more strenuous on your fingers and all that. Very difficult to try and do that on this little outer rim thing. So we're not going to mess with it there. Let's see here. Oh, I'm missing. Oh, super chats. I missed super chats. Thanks, Dave. I'm going to go back and make sure I'm not missing anybody. And Melvin, too. Everybody smile. That's a good one. I like that. Nice. Oh, did Jen have to go? Oh, I missed her. Have a good night, Jen. I know you're probably gone already, but hope you have a good one. She's listening somewhere. She can hear. Her ears are ringing right now. All right, so I'm just about done with this, and I want to take a look and see how we did. Now, if you were I was mentioning that you could go for a kind of a frosted look. I'd probably go up to 2,000. I think 1,000 is maybe a little bit too low. If you're gonna do that, what I would recommend is actually sand it like kind of in a circular motion. So it's not just like, you know, radial scratches or straight scratches. It's kind of a random, you know, kind of like what you think of like with the random orbit sander. That'll give you that kind of frosted look, and it won't be like, you know, obviously just scratched up looking. So that's one little tip if that is the direction that you want to go. And I'll stop and I'll maybe do that. I think I'll go to 2,000 real quick here with the wet dry, and I'll kind of show you why I was considering it. You know, like what it looks like, because this box actually it would have looked pretty good with that. And if you decide, you know, so the nice thing is you can take something like this all the way up to, you know, full gloss. And if you decide at the end that you kind of like the frosted look better, then all you got to do is just grab, you know, something that's around 2,000 grit, and just, even if you can't mount it back on the lathe again, just, you know, hand sand it, and you can bring back that kind of frosty look with, and this works generally with clear resin or transparent resins. You can go for a kind of a matte, I would call it a matte look. Otherwise, it's not going to be frosted if you have, you know, opaque colors. It'll just be kind of matte. But It's pretty cool. I did that a lot with the colored pencil jars. I don't know if you guys saw those projects. I really like the look of that the frosted pencil jars. All right, so we got everything good. Let's take a peek at this and see. I need to get, so I'm going to move you guys a little bit because I need to put this light right where you guys are looking. I'm going to bring you guys down to the end here. Like that. Because I need this thing to be kind of down in here for me to get the best view. So, looks like I got a few radial scratches kind of on the edges around here. But the inside, I think I got pretty well everywhere. So I'm just gonna hit this again with where'd my 1,000 go? I'm just gonna kind of come and try and get these outside edges of the kind of dome thing. I'm not really surprised because I was kind of avoiding that edge a little bit. Do a little bit of work here. I think that I will call this definitely at 1,000, at least on the parts that count the most. You don't want to press too hard. That's not what we're doing. That can actually kind of, I mean, technically you can't really put deeper than 1,000 grit scratches in, but I mean, if you're pressing really hard, it kind of is actually a little bit deeper. So, you know, just moderate, you know, lightish, moderate pressure is all you need. All right, let's see where we're at now. That is looking good. Okay. I'm not supremely concerned about this little lip. If it's not absolutely perfect, I'll live. But it is looking pretty good, I think. It's kind of hard to tell on something like that. All right, so let's do 2,000 grit. Let me go get a little piece here. Let me shut this off so you guys aren't totally blown out. I'll get a piece of 2,000 and I'll kind of show you what a frosted look. I mean, I guess I could probably just, you can kind of, I mean, this is the frosted look right here. But I would do it kind of around in circles like that, and it just wouldn't be a big scratch pattern. What you're trying to do, well, actually, first, before we move on, I need I want to give the outside a quick shot with the 1,000 grit. And then we'll try to kind of put a little bit of that frosted look on the inside with 2,000. Just want to double check and make sure that I've gotten this thing on the top where I want it to be. Might have kind of dinged it or scratched it while I was turning stuff. Horses. Never had horses. So did you guys, I don't know if anybody's even mentioned it, but there's going to be another live event day coming soon, so be keeping your eyes peeled. I think Jamie Page is going to be putting together all the little PR things. Obviously, I'm going to be posting stuff too, but I think he's putting together, you guys know Jamie, he can make things look fabulous with the posts and all that stuff. So I don't have all the details myself yet, but I have agreed, so we're going to have a full, it's going to be like that last one with the Easy Wood Tools, and Carl Jacobson's putting it on. Setting it all up, and I don't know exactly who's all going to do it, but I am. And it should be coming up, I think, in maybe just a few weeks here. So another fun one. I had a really good time during that day. I hope you guys did too. Where it was like live demo day, maker fair, I think they called it, event. It's just really, really fun. Lots of really cool demonstrations that people did. One thing that was really cool about that day was there was some different people. Anne of All Trades was in on that, and I don't really know. I've been following her on Instagram for a while, but you know, wasn't really familiar with her. So it was really cool to kind of get to know her. And Daryl Dreadnought, I am familiar with him, but it was cool. I don't think he's really done any live streaming before that. So it was an interesting, fun event. I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to this one too. All right, so this thing is looking fabulous on this side and on the outside, I think. I'm gonna just double check. I guess I didn't really give this outside. It should be good because I already did all this inspecting just to make sure, but it looks, yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so now on to 2000, and like I said, what I'm gonna do, we are going to, let me get this thing wet here. And I'm not sure exactly what equivalent, at this point, what equivalent would be good to go to with the Zona papers, but they're actually a little bit easier to do this with. They just kind of seem to slide a little bit better over the surface. But I kind of like the looks of this too. I know exactly what I'm gonna get with this 2000 grit paper, so we're just gonna move forward with it. But I'm just lightly, going in little circles, kind of trying to do a little bit of a random pattern. And that way the eye just can't pick up. It's not just an obvious, one direction or a pattern. Just putting some swirly scratches in this thing, and we'll make it look pretty cool frosted. This isn't the easiest piece. Oh, that's actually this. Sometimes it depends on where you're hitting it on the piece. This is going a lot easier. Now, I don't know how well the camera's gonna pick this up, but I'm hoping it will kind of show you a pretty cool effect, and I kind of happened upon it on accident, sort of. I mean, I guess we've all seen it, but if you stop at 2000, you're like, oh wow, that looks frosted. But that happened one day, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool effect. So let's see if you guys can kind of see this. I don't know. It's much easier to see in person, I think, but to really pick up the detail of it. But hopefully you guys can kind of see on the camera that it looks frosted, but it's not obviously just sanded. It doesn't just look like a bunch of scratch marks on there. It's kind of, you've blended that in a little bit more, and it just looks like it's got a frosty kind of layer on top. And I really should probably go farther. I haven't gotten this fully to 2000 grit yet, but it's not a bad way to go. Not a bad way to go at all. And if you don't want to, I think that this is a good option as long as it's something that you want, obviously. But sometimes the difference between 2000 grit and fully no scratches, that's a big jump. And no matter how good you are, there's there can be scratches in it, and you can kind of be sanding and polishing for days trying to get every single scratch out. And so if you're kind of I don't want to mess with that, frosted will do, it looks good. This is not a bad place to stop if you don't want to mess with it, and still have a good looking piece, but not have to do as much work. So yes, it is the lazy way out, but as far as I'm concerned, as long as it looks cool, whatever, Now I am going to try and polish this up. I'm not going to stop here, but I am going to keep going here with the 2000 grit. I know you guys are probably zoomed way in. I can't see what's going on. Really, again, you don't want to press too hard doing this. You can kind of put deeper scratches than you want, and then it just, then there will be maybe a couple things that look like scratches. So nice light touch. Just kind of try and, scuff it up with a very light touch. You'll get the best results. A nice even coating. I'm even going to do it on this thing. Just to see how it looks. Now this is going to be pretty tough to do on the top of the lid thing here. Whatever this ledge. I don't really know how you would do that. So there are limitations to this kind of thing, intricate designs and shapes and stuff, maybe a little bit more work than you really want to deal with. I guess actually I'm gonna, while we got this going here, I'm gonna hit this edge here with the 2000. See if I can find a nice flat edge. So we're almost to the end here. Just a couple more grits of papers, and then we'll flip it, and hopefully we can get this thing moving. And then the final step will be the finial. So it's 4 o'clock. I can't go for like 3 hours again today, so we're gonna have to shut things down at 5. We'll see how far we can get. I don't think we'll get it finished totally, but pretty close, I think. And if anything goes wrong, then we'll be done even earlier. So that's the schedule. That's the plan, guys. All right, so let's see now how we are looking. I do need to do the outside with 2000. Technically, I could probably, what I want to do now is switch over to the Zona papers, but wanted to kind of show you this effect. And like I said, the 2000 grit, I know what it's going to look like with 2000 grit wet dry. So yeah, it's cool looking. I really like that. It's hard to, I don't know how to get the best shot of this on camera for you guys, but I don't know if straight on would be better. I really think that kind of an angle with some light is the best way to get this, at least from eyeballs. That's the best way to do it. So sometimes cameras don't work exactly the same though. Get this thing out of the way. I'm going to go up just a little hair. Try and zoom a little bit more and see if that, I don't know. Hopefully you guys can kind of see. It's a nice looking frosted look. Kind of just obscures the view a little bit, but as long as we don't have like a bright light on it, it looks absolutely just like frosted glass. And then when you hit it with a light, and you guys probably won't be able to see this as well, just not as, you just don't have that kind of visible scratch pattern. It's blended in. Now, if you really look close, yes, you can see it's, we've sanded that out. So of course you can see 2000 grit scratches if you really look close, but unless you have like a jeweler's loop on, from a foot away or so, 6 inches, it just looks like a frosted glass look. So that's pretty cool. I like that. So now the question is, where do we start with the Zona papers? I think I'm going to start with the gray. Maybe. It might be a little bit lower than we need to be at, but I'd rather just start. Oh, actually, first thing I got to do is hit the outside with probably with some 2000. Actually, I don't need to do that. We're gonna. I'm going to do the zona papers on the outside. They're a little bit more flexible and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm just going to go with those. So here we go. First I want to get this wet. Actually, and I'm also going to change out my water. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that doesn't look awesome. So for these super high grits, let's just get this water cleaned up, and then there's no questions. Some people claim that, you know, or some people swear by just having, you know, a different cup of water for each grit. And I can see the validity of that. You know, there is a point, but for me, I don't have a sink like right next to my lathe. And I realize that this sounds really lazy, but I'm just not going to stop and walk up to the front of the thing to switch it. Maybe you could do different cups, you know, or whatever, but I also don't know that I really think that that's totally necessary. But it's not a bad idea to switch it when you get to the really high grits, for sure, I think. That's kind of my philosophy on it. Thanks, Ellis. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. So, let's see, what was it? Why don't I miss something? All right, so we're going to start with the green here. Get this nice and clean, make sure there's no... And the whole thing about switching the water is particles can come off, and then you're dumping them, you know, dunking that stuff in the water. I'm just not, I don't know how much, I don't know. I'm not sure how much I don't know. You want to be absolutely certain, you know, that you're not cross-contaminating grit particles, then I, you know, definitely, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting a different cup. I mean, it's definitely not going to hurt anything. I'm just not sure if it's necessary. So this is zona paper. It's basically the same type of thing as micro mesh. And I like these polishing papers. I like these thin ones because they can really get into corners, and they're just easier to work with than those. A lot of people are kind of familiar with those micro mesh pads. I kind of would rather have this super thin paper stuff myself. And you can get this stuff at Turner's Warehouse. And so I tried to do kind of a conversion. And I don't know if this is 100% correct, but I've seen some charts that kind of convert grit levels to microns. And so what I came up with is that this green stuff this is the lowest grit of the zona, is about 750 grit. And the next one's gray, and it's somewhere around 1150 or so. But the thing is, the particles may be slightly different, kind of. I don't know if it's a straight conversion, if you can do it that way exactly. So I just kind of guesstimate. But this had 1,000 grit. That's what I had this outside up to. And so now I'm going to this green, just to double check and make sure that I'm not skipping anything. Let's just start with the lowest zona and go up from there. It's kind of my thinking. All right, let's just go with the green on the inside too. Then I can just keep going on the whole thing. Ain't gonna harm anything, that's for sure. We had this inside up to 2,000 grit. And so technically, if this is 750, we're going down quite a ways, but that's okay. We'll see where we're at. I want to make sure that this lid looks good. You know, it's good that the base looks good, but you're going to see the top absolutely, you know. So I think that that's the most important part of this piece. All right, let's see where we're at now. Take a peek. Okay, we're looking good. Move up to gray. Which, like I said, it's according to my calculations, I don't know if they're right, but it seemed like it was about 1150 grit. Yeah, body shops use the same water. I guess that's maybe part of the thinking. As long as you're wet sanding, technically, hopefully the particles of stuff shouldn't be trapped in there. It's kind of, that's the whole point of the, having that, you know, lubrication in there. So I don't know. I do think when I'm looking down in the cup and it's like opaque, not a bad time to switch your water out. You know, that just can't hurt anything. But I don't know if you need to be doing it for every single step. I don't know. I guess, well, and part of the reason I say that is when I first started doing, you know, acrylics and CA finishes and stuff, I had a tough time, and we're talking pens. And I would go through, and I would still have scratches at the end. And then I tried doing it with separate water, same thing. You know, it didn't change anything back in the day. So I think that there's other things that are more important to make sure of. Hey, Debbie's here. How's it going? I'm glad you could catch a live too. You kind of caught the sanding fun. Yeah, luckily I have tap water, so it's not costing me more than normal. But one thing that always kind of crossed my mind with this is, you know, when we're talking about, I mean, you're getting pretty high. You know, like the highest zona paper is like 1 micron, and I don't know where, you know, there's like minerals. There's like basically small particles of rocks in water. You know, hard water has stuff in it, and so for a while I was buying distilled water because I figured that might not have that in there. I don't know. I don't even know if that's actually correct thinking, but I don't really think that actually matters, but maybe, I don't know. It's not filtered water. Could be stuff in your water, possibly, from the tap. I would assume that bottled water is filtered and shouldn't have that. I don't know. Just I don't exactly know what size particles we're talking about with that stuff. All right, so I'm going to stop this, and I'm actually going to do a little bit of this kind of just by hand. I also find that sometimes stopping and doing just a little extra sanding by hand on resin pieces, and maybe even on wood, sometimes can help. I don't know exactly why, but you know, maybe because you have a layer of water and the paper's not, you know, not contacting the whole piece, or maybe you have a little bump in there. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of spot sand real quick. Nice. I seem to sometimes get better results when I do it like that. All right, and then we need to do the outside here. So I'm really trying to be good about this time. I'm going to switch directions there. Really trying to be diligent about this. Hopefully we'll be good to go. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the thumbs ups if you like it, definitely. Thanks for reminding everybody, Dave. Yeah, I guess that's not a bad idea. Particles do kind of fall to the bottom. It should be heavier, hopefully. I don't know. You know, like this is, you could get you could spend a lifetime figuring out sanding, polishing, and all this buffing. Buffing's kind of a thing on its own too. There's techniques to it, and there's theories to it, and lots to learn. I'm all for learning, but I only have so much time to do turning stuff. I'd rather really dig into the theory of stuff when it comes to like resin casting. That's what I want to be really good at. All right, so let's see where we're at now. Make sure that I'm doing a good job. Yeah, no, I'm done with abrasive paste. They don't do anything. Realistically, I mean, here's the thing about it. At least with like Yorkshire grit, I mean, all it does is it's going to take care of the green paper, the green zona paper, the gray one, and the blue one. That's really the grit range that you get out of Yorkshire grits. I talked to Glenn, and he's like, well, if you want it to be absolutely dead clear, then you're going to have to buff anyway. So that's the only difference, you know, because I would sand up to about 600, then I'd move to green, gray, and blue, and then buffing wheels in my normal thing. And so that's why it's tough for me. Like for just a normal resin project, I don't find it valuable. I don't think that it works. I don't get as good a result as if I just keep going with wet sanding, you know. So, and I fully admit, maybe I don't know how to do it. That's fine, but I don't think that it should be that hard to get good results either, you know. And it's not, I wish it was something where you could quit sanding at 600 and it would take it to full, you know, totally scratch free. The only thing that I know that actually does that is if you apply a finish. You know, that is, if you can get a good finish on with like a spray lacquer. One thing that I've never tried is the shine juice. I think that's probably a pretty decent way to go as well. But I think that you could probably at that point stop sanding at like 600, maybe 1,000 grit, and just apply a finish, and you're good, as long as the finish goes on, you know, really well. It's not lumpy and orange peely and all that stuff. If you can get a good finish on out of the can, out of a spray can, if it's like lacquer, then you're done. That's the simplest way to the finish line. So I'm looking at this and it's hard to tell. See, now we're getting into these high, super high grits where you can barely see the scratches. But I think that we got that side good. I find the buffing wheels are the easiest way. If you can get it up to about 1200 grit, triple E buffing wheel, and then white diamond does the rest for you. But again, these are just my opinions and based on what results I've seen using this stuff. If you like whatever works good for you is what you need to use. You know, that's the way that any of this stuff works. And the nice thing about the pastes is, you know, you don't have to use water because it can dry your hands out. Personally, I don't really like oily, waxy stuff on my hands either. I would actually prefer water. But that's an advantage, I would say. Obviously, the oils and the waxes make wood look great, and I really love Yorkshire grit on wood. Period. If it's just I'm turning a wooden bowl, that's what I would pick for a nice, you know, warm wood feel. That is the bomb. I just don't like it on resin. But also, as you guys can see, I'm not an excellent you know, maker of things. I can make blanks all day, but finished projects, I'm not an expert. So, you know. Who am I to say? And I try, maybe I come off sometimes, like some people kind of think that maybe I have kind of like this attitude, like I'm telling you how to do things. All I'm doing is giving you my thoughts. You know, whether they're right or wrong, I don't know. But that's all that I can claim. That's all I'm doing here. Sharing my experience. I wish they'd just make a tool that you get the perfect cut and you don't even have to sand. That's what I want. How can you clean buffing wheels? Actually, I got a couple of ideas for you. I had been using just a piece of 80 grit sandpaper, kind of on the like back, like stick it on a piece of plywood or something, or some sort of a hard thing, and it'll clean out your wheels. The problem is it kind of clogs up that paper. And so I got a couple of people actually gave me some good ideas, and I actually bought one of each. So they make these little doohickeys. I think they call this a buffing rake or a buff rake. And so this will clean it out. Or this thing's called like a buff, I don't know, spur something. Most of the time when I see what I saw this in conjunction with was actually like your car polishing pads. But supposedly they work with just like what we, you know, our buffing wheels, mops, I think they are sometimes called. So either one, any of those, it should get rid of any kind of buildup, clogging, you know, metal stuff. That was my problem, is I was getting metal, like the black streaks from metal. And so either way, a piece of sandpaper like 80, 60 grit, that'll clean off the top. A buffing rake or a buff rake, I think is what they would call it, or a buffing spur, polishing pad spur. I don't know. I found both of those on Amazon, and so I forget who mentioned both of them. I think it was actually Ray mentioned the spur. Can't remember who mentioned the rake. Might have been Doug. I don't know. Well, thanks, Amber. I'm glad they've been helpful. Like I said, I know the most about casting stuff. Pen turning, I'm pretty good at. I can help people out with that. Some of this other stuff, I don't know. I do think, I don't mean to discount. Sometimes lately I've been discounting how much I know about buffing and polishing and all that kind of stuff. Frankly, I have a really good method of doing it, I think. My biggest problem is sometimes I'm lazy and I don't really check my work. You know, I know how to get to the finish line as long as I put in the work and the time, but there are other ways to do it. A lot of people like different things, and that's the thing also. I've been trying to try some different things that I've just kind of said no, I don't like it. And it just a lot of these things they aren't working any better than what I've gotten, you know, than the other result or the other methods that I've already been doing for a while. So hopefully you'll learn something and maybe try something new, or the whole point is to try and help make sure that everybody gets the best results possible. That's my hope. All right, so we're at blue. I think I'm going to do a little bit of this on the inside. These ones, like I said, work really well for doing this kind of circular motion. They just glide better than other sandpapers. Again, you don't really need a lot of pressure or anything like that, but because I have access to this, I may as well just do this. With solid surfaces, you know, a lot of people come from, they're used to sanding wood, and wood is, I would say, a lot easier to sand because there's grain, and it just, unless you're talking like end grain, generally wood, I think, is easier to sand. It goes faster. And part of the thing is that, you know, it's a solid surface. It's 100%, there's material there. Whereas with wood, there's a lot of air. You know, it's I don't know what the percentage is of wood fiber to, you know, air in there, but there's quite a bit of it. And so that's part of the thing is, you know, compared to wood, plastics, there's literally more material you have to sand. And that's actually why the cross sanding, like sand with one grit in one direction and then go like 90 degrees to that on the next one, that's kind of why that works better, because you're kind of cutting through those lines a little bit more rather than just kind of following the same lines that you had put in before. So that's just another reason why it's not a bad idea, and that's kind of what I'm saying is that, you know, doing it this way, it's going to have to cut across those scratch marks a little bit, and hopefully you just want to get the best coverage you can get. Basically, I guess I can kind of reach this outside part a little bit and do this. So I'm just trying to polish and put as much effort as possible into this so we can get it nice and shiny. I do, so we were talking about finishes. I do eventually want to try the shine juice thing, because, you know, Doug gets really good results in his videos with that. And, you know, with a finish, the thing is you're going to fill scratches, and so they're gone effectively. And I would actually say that that's kind of the case. I think waxes do a similar effect to that. I don't know that they make things glossier necessarily, but they can maybe fill some of those really thin scratch marks. My problem with waxes is if it's something that you're going to be touching a lot, you're going to break down those waxes and they're going to be gone. And I think those scratches, if that is the case where it's filling them, but if they're gone, then they're going to start showing up again. And waxes just break down easier. So I don't really like them on pens and things like that, but on a piece that's just going to be kind of looked at from afar, not handled that much, I think, you know, a nice coat of wax on the end is not a bad idea. Like a microcrystalline wax. I've never really done that too much. Like I said, I'm typically kind of averse to waxes, but just because it seems like you're probably going to have to touch it up a lot. I'd rather just put on a hard top coat. You just don't really have to do as much maintenance on anything like that. But I might try some of that. I do have Renaissance wax. This thing's looking pretty glossy already, I think. Let me take a peek at this thing. Yeah, not bad. So it's starting to kind of clear up already, just at the grit level that we're at. You know, I could probably move on to, you know, plastic. Like another way to go is plastic polishes. You could probably start applying like the lower end, the more abrasive plastic polishes here. Automotive polishes would be kind of the same thing. Like you're like cutting compounds, like the really buffing, rubbing compound. That might work. But I'm just going to keep going with our papers. So the next one is going to be pink. This stuff works great. This Chad Schimmel loves this stuff. Like I think pretty much everything he does that's resin, he just goes up all the way through all the zona grits. A lot of people do like that, and I know in the pen world, a lot of people swear by just micro meshing things all the way through. I get the most consistent results with buffing wheels. It just seems like I can definitely get all the scratches out if I buff it. But this thing's kind of a weird deal, and it's going to be a little harder to buff, the weird shapes and stuff. So we're just going to go with the papers, and then we'll finish up with, I'll do the same thing. We'll just finish up with some of that car polish on a paper towel. See what we get. Crocs and socks. Yeah, the devil you know. I know, that's, you know, that's, I tend to kind of keep going back to things. But I will say, you know, I have been kind of experimenting around, and so I've been using Abranet forever. You know, wet sanding with it, and it works good. But there was like kind of a nagging thing. I was watching Ben at Ben's Works, and he was using silicon carbide paper, and it just, you know, I thought about it, and I'm like, you know, I've never even tried that actually. But it kind of makes sense. I mean, that's what, in the auto body industry, that's what you wet sand with, you know. So I thought, oh, let me try it out. And I've been pretty happy with silicon carbide paper if I'm wet sanding. I think on resin, on, you know, plastics, I think that's a good way to go. It just seems like they are efficient and they work pretty well, and I've been getting good results. And I would even say slightly, I would think it feels like it's slightly better results than I was getting with Abranet. But then again, there's a lot of, it feels like, you know, it's very difficult to do a real scientific experimentation judging different sandpapers, because, you know, how you were sanding that day, the resin that you're using, the colors that are in it, and there's a lot of factors that can kind of change things unless you just line up 50 things that are exactly the same type of thing and try sanding them. It's tough to kind of compare, I think. How much pressure were you applying? Did you, you know, too many factors. I'm telling you, if they come out with a sanding, polishing robot where I just turn it and then hand it over to the robot and it just finishes it up, I would buy one. First in line. Because frankly, I'd rather not have to think about sanding and polishing. Well, Chad was saying that buffing's the same as paste. I mean, honestly, all of these things are the same. They're abrasives. That's all that. It doesn't matter which method you go with. They are all slightly different, though, in the way that they are being applied. In some cases, the abrasive particles are slightly different in some cases. So I don't know. I don't exactly know what abrasive paste is compared to like Yorkshire grit. I don't know if that's the same thing or not, but I'm guessing it's just like a waxy something with particles in it. But yeah, it kind of depends. There's lots of different types of abrasives. I mean, even with this stuff is aluminum oxide. This stuff is silicon carbide. I think that Abranet, I want to say it's aluminum oxide. So there's like different types, you know. But buffing wheels do cut a little bit different, you know. So like your rouges are you know, they're an abrasive, the same as everything else, but the buffing wheels cut slightly differently. I actually did a little bit of research on this, and I don't know if this is true where the source was, but it kind of made sense. They were saying that the buffing wheels actually create a U-shaped scratch, and that's compared to your particles on sandpapers and things like that. And I don't know where abrasive pastes fit into this, but compared to sandpaper, that's like a V. You know, the sandpaper particles, like aluminum oxide, cuts like a V, whereas your buffing wheels cut like a U. And so, you know, maybe it's just a perception thing, but it seems like for me, they work better, more efficiently, you know. So I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, ceramic grits, but I think this is actually aluminum oxide. I don't know. There are some ceramic, I have seen some ceramic papers out there and stuff too. And there's like the abrasive film. I don't know what, I mean, I don't think this is what that is really. It's more, it's like a plastic backed thing. I don't know, there's so many of them. I don't know. That's the problem is that, you know, so I've just talked for like an hour about sanding and polishing, and frankly, you could talk for days. I haven't even covered it all. Ooh, that's looking nice. Starting to get shiny, guys. So I think I'm gonna give this, you know, do this kind of by hand thing again, just in case I missed, you know, some scratch area. I think that's why I do this. It ain't gonna hurt anything, that's for sure. Just cover my bases, make sure that this lid is as good as I can get it, and I will warn you guys, you know, I'm putting a lot of effort into this, and at the end there may still be some scratches that I didn't get. You know? So just be aware of that. Sometimes it happens because I'm not really putting this under a microscope between each grit. Kind of going by feel. Feels like it's pretty good. So the best way to go is to be extremely diligent in between each coat or each grit, and inspect and make sure that you're not missing anything. That way you can get to the finish line and not be like, oh, whoops. Which it could happen with this one. I don't know. We'll see. I'm feeling like I'm putting a lot of effort into this sanding. Very scientific. Feels like I'm sanding this really well. Trying to give this, you know, fairly light pressure when I do this. Okay, I'm going to call that good. And then let's see here, pink and then turquoise or teal, I guess you would call it. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done with this sanding stuff. Trust me, I'm getting tired of it too. Wash this off just a little bit, make sure there's no particles. All right, so, and I think I'm not even gonna mess around with spinning it. I'm just gonna do a little bit of hand polishing with these higher grit ones, and then we're gonna hit it with the car polish. And I think we'll be good. Kind of rather finish if you're, you know, these things are getting to really high grits. I mean, I don't know what grit level 1 micron is, but it's really high. It's like 30,000 or something like that, 16,000 maybe. I have it written down, I think. Oh, I didn't even go that high. Well, so 9 microns is 2,500. I have no clue what 1 micron is, but it's really high. And so to me, I'd rather just, rather than turn the lathe on and get, if I do somehow get a weird scratch, let's say like some weird particle or something, a piece of dirt, dust gets on the paper, you're gonna track around a round thing. So I'd rather, I realize I'm gonna track it all over the place, doing it this way, but it's just not going to be as perceptible. So I'd rather kind of do it like this for these high grits. That's my philosophy, at least for today. We'll see if that holds forever. Lapping film, yeah, lapping film. I don't know if they're diamond. I think they're ceramic. I don't know. So far for the price, this Zona paper is the best. And realistically, I kind of just came to that conclusion. I've been kind of playing around with different stuff and doing all this stuff, and I think I finally came to the conclusion that I really like Zona paper the best, and I actually just bought, I found 50 packs. Was it 50? Yeah. Packs of 50 8.5 by 11 sheets. And so I bought all the lowest grits of that, and then just bought some of the 10 sheet higher grits because I don't tend to use those as much. That's kind of, I think this stuff, if you're going really high for plastics, is probably your best bet for the highest polishing that you're going to be doing with it. I'm gonna spin the outside for just a little bit. I'm putting very light pressure on this. I just told you I wasn't going to do that, but then I started doing it and I thought, well, too late to stop now. Very light pressure. And then I'm going to come back and just kind of do this by hand real quick. All right, just wipe that off a little bit. Blow it off, see what it's looking like dry. I mean, it's already really clear. And we're not even at the top grit. I mean, just looking at seeing the light going through it. So the top one is a 1 micron paper. Some days I wonder if it's even worth messing with. But we're going to do it. The tough part about this stuff is it's hard to tell which side is actually the grit. And so I think it's this side because you don't want to see the little fibers. I can see little fibers on this side. So I'm going to guess that this is the side that has the grit. But it basically, you couldn't possibly tell by feel. You have to do by look. So I'm just going to cut myself off a little sheet here. I really need to get one of those. I have a, what I'm doing over here, just to let you guys know. I don't want to drag the camera over. I have one of those self-healing mats and a wheel cutting, like a pizza wheel it looks like. The problem is, what I really want is something that just cuts at 90 all the time. Because I'm like trying to line it up on a grid, and it just doesn't work very well. All right, so 1 micron, guys. All right, here we go. Hopefully I'm doing it on the right side. Now again, technically this is the one that people say, oh, the highest grit, you know, you want to spend the most time. But I'm going to give this a decent amount of time with the paper, and then we're going to hit it with a car polish. Because really, what I found is I bought the 205, Meguiar's 205, which is a finer grit, and frankly, I don't like it as much. You have to have it. You really need to hit it with 105 first, I would guess. Then 205, but I was perfectly happy with the results I was getting with the 105, so whatever, you know. I personally am liking the 105 better. But doing more research into that stuff, that's technically a cutting compound. I don't fully understand the total differences between all this stuff, but there are polishes, I want to say is the correct term. Somebody else might know a little bit more about this than me, but and there may be advantages to using different types of the automotive products. I don't know. It all gets kind of, frankly, it's very confusing if you're just trying to wax your car or polish it or, whatever. There's all kinds of different stuff nowadays. So, I don't know. Let's see here. This one to go backwards, I think. Nope. Forwards. All right. Very light touch. Julie's here. What's up? Oh, was Julie not here when I put the sticker up? I didn't look. I thought she was. Shoot, I got your sticker up tonight. You'll have to go to the beginning. I'll show it to you before we shut the thing off, but if you want to see me putting it on the pressure pot, it's at the beginning. I thought I saw you. I guess I didn't look. Dang. But I got it up. All right, I'm throwing in the towel, the paper towel. We're gonna call that good. Man, it's looking pretty good, not bad. But I do think that the car polish, the Meguiar's 105, is gonna make this thing look like perfection. All right, so let me get this stuff out of the way. And again, I'm not gonna buffing wheel this. I'm just gonna apply it and rub it in with a paper towel. Hopefully that will work decently enough. Okay, so I'm just going to use one of these blue shop towels. And then this is the Meguiar's 105 Ultra Cut Compound. $25 on the cutter. I'm not sure what you mean, Melvin. That might have been a little too much. We'll be okay. So I'm just going to spread this stuff around. And we're going forward, and I'm just going to kind of, not too fast, just kind of let that kind of rub in. Get that edge. Now I do have a little, I don't know what this material is, like a wool buff thing. And I tried using it. You can see there's some dried powder. This is 105. It just didn't really work. So, and I'm digging the microfiber towel. So I'm going to shut this off. I don't want this thing running while I wipe this off. You don't want this thing to grab. But these microfiber towels are super, super soft on everything. This stuff is straight from the car polishing world. That's looking pretty good, I think. Got the outside done. I'm not going to do the, I guess that's the inside. So let's see if we can get a, I don't know what the best way to get this shot is, but not bad. It's got pretty good clarity, it looks like. Yeah. I don't know. Not too bad. Do think I can maybe see some scratches. So, like I said, you get to the finish no matter how much you thought you did good, and it's still probably could have spent some more time on some of those grits, but I don't know. And this is what really gets frustrating with this stuff. You know, I just spent an hour sanding that, and there's still scratches in it, and you're like, okay, maybe I should have just spray lacquered it. But they're really hard to see. So I might come back with doing the kind of circular thing with some of those zona grits. If it's hard to tell. And I'm very I get really anal about this. I really want it to be crystal clear. No, it's looking pretty good. Hard to tell. Maybe, you know what might be happening is I'm seeing the scratches from the other side because we haven't car polished it yet. And I didn't spend as much time as I probably could have with those two last final grits. So it's kind of tough on clear pieces. But I'm digging it. It's looking good. So I don't want to do the car polish thing on this side yet. There's no real need. Unfortunately, it's 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys. I'm not going to be able to finish all this. I know I spent the entire time sanding. And this is why, I don't know. Some days I'm kind of thinking like, I really wanted to wet sand this, but I think I might start just spray lacquering things because it can dry in like 10 or 15 minutes and we can kind of move on. So I might start kind of employing that a little bit more. It's just it'll be good enough and it'll take far less time than me sanding the whole thing. But what I want to do is I want to show you guys what I'm planning to do with this thing, the game plan, let's say. So I'm considering this thing done on this side. There's nothing else that I need to do to the inside of the lid. We need to flip it and take care of this. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is let's see, what are you guys seeing right now? Let's zoom out. What I'm going to do is we're going to switch the jaws to the cold jaws. And I got enough time. I can kind of start working on the top of this thing, getting it better, but I'm not going to be able to get that knob, the finial, quote unquote finial thing done today. So I don't know. We'll have to see. What am I doing? We'll have to see where I put that. I might try to get some video of it. Maybe I'll put it like on an Instagram live or TV thing, or maybe record and put it on YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but try and get it so I can share with you guys. So these are the cold jaws, from the Easy Wood Tools ones. Cold jaws are pretty nice. The thing about these is they're not as secure, as like how I had this tenon in the jaws. Let's see, how does this, hopefully I tried to get these things set up. The one thing is you got to like screw them into the, depending on the size. You have to, screw and unscrew these little knobs, but they're rubber. Just for anybody that's not familiar with these things. And they should hold this thing well enough, but this is not the absolute most secure way of holding work. So you do have to be pretty careful. You want to watch what you're doing. I'm going to, tailstock support for as long as you can is the best way to go. But it's not fully tightened yet, but that ought to hold it. These things are kind of cone shaped. They're like at an angle here, dovetail kind of thing. And so it's good enough, but you just, like I said, be careful when you're using these cold jaws because it's not as secure as if you had it in a full tenon with a dovetail with the normal jaws. All right, so got that tightened down. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to give it one more little crank here. And let's see what we got. It's looking pretty good. All right, let's get rid of that tenon. So the game plan is, obviously I need to get rid of this wood. So we're just gonna, you know, cut that stuff off carefully. And what I want to do is, let me get you guys kind of above so you can see the profile. I don't like how wide this kind of rim thing is. I want this to be thinner. Got all kinds of things in the way. Hopefully that, oops, tighten the right thing. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So what I want to do is, like I said, lose the tenon, but I also want to bring this in further. I needed to leave that so that the jaws, the chuck had something to, you know, a wall to sit on or hold up against. But I want this to come in quite a bit more, this little lip. And then the little, what I want to do for the finial thing, it's not going to be very big. Just, you know, maybe like a, I don't know, like an inch, something like that. And I just want to kind of put a little bit of a cove in there. So it's going to be fairly minimal. And it just, I think it'd be silly looking if it had a 2-inch wide flat thing and then this knob. So I want to bring that down to probably like, I don't know. I'm going to have to kind of judge it by eye, but I want to take that in a little bit. So we got a little bit of work to do on this top thing. So let's bring up the tailstock and let's start kind of nibbling away this tenon. I think I can just basically part that off completely, but I want to have as much support as possible through the majority of the process, and then we'll pull the tailstock. And one thing that I like to do is, if I need to work on the side of something like this, where the tool's coming in, you know, on the side, I really want to have tailstock support then. And this may not be, I don't know, somebody that knows more about turning can maybe chime in if this is incorrect, but I would really want to keep this thing, you know, with tailstock while I'm coming in and trying to part this thing. And then once I want to, you know, once I'm down to a little nub, take the tailstock away. And what I like to do is I'd rather be putting the force on this side with a tool than coming in from the side. That's just my own personal thing. It just seems to make more sense, you know, logically. But, you know, if anybody has any other thoughts about that, let me know if that's not really that's incorrect thinking. I just don't really like, the problem with the cold jaws is they don't hold as well as, you know, a normal tenon, right? And when are you going to be using cold jaws? At the end of the project, when you really don't want that thing flying off your lathe. So that's why I'm usually pretty careful when it comes to this stuff. It's not so much that I'm worried about it flying off in general. I don't want it to come off and get all dinged up. You know what I mean? Hey, Yak's here. Yak knows how to turn. All right. Yeah, it just seems logical, because if you're putting pressure from this side on, and I think it's pretty well safe, but this is less safe, or, you know, it's just less secure than if I was holding on to this tenon. It just seems like if you're putting pressure here, the tendency would be, if anything goes wrong, it may rip it out, you know, from these little bumper nubs. Good. All right. So I know, I sort of know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's a good idea for most. Yeah. Okay. That does make sense. So we'll just come in and work on some of this stuff. The thing is, I need to get rid of some of this wood though, because I need to see, I need it to be kind of clear. So I don't know. Either way, I do like having, I think I will definitely leave some of this wood before I get rid of it. That's a good idea, Eddie. Will it fly? Yeah, I got the sticker application. I got it going. Let me get some, where'd my glasses go? What is happening here? Oh, it's under the ShamWow. Okay, so let's get this thing started here. Bring this guy in. I should have been a little bit smarter about this. Okay. Lock it down. Lock and load. And I got some new tools on the way, guys. I did it. I've been meaning to get one of the, and here's another thing, is I really need to get some smaller coal jaws. I figured, let me just get the ones that'll pretty much hold everything. Well, when I'm turning a tiny lidded box, these wings really suck. I really don't like these things flying out at me. This is actually not particularly amazingly fun. Plus they make a lot of noise and they're scary sounding. Ah, this sucks. This is one application that I don't really want to do it left-handed because I'm not very proficient that way. I might actually, I don't like this. I just feel like I don't have a grip on this thing. I could maybe do it on the other side of the lathe. I think I'm going to do that, guys. Anybody have a problem with that? Flipping around, run in reverse. That'll get my hands in the right positions at least. Seems to make sense to me. And this is one of those things that I usually recommend, do whatever you're comfortable with. And this seems the most comfortable to me. I'm going to scoot you guys back just a little bit. I mean, what could go wrong, right? There. Put you guys back a little bit so if it does go flying, it'll probably hit the camera. Let's see if this will work. I don't know. This is a harebrained idea, I know. But heck, I've seen Carl Jacobson just flat sit on his lathe and hollow things out. So, I mean, really, how bad could this be? It's looking okay. Got to turn the lathe backwards. I know that I don't have access to the controls. That could be a problem. All right, good. At least I'm not the only one that thinks that this is a brilliant idea. The nice thing is I can switch to my, can you guys see that? My controller panel up here. So if I have to, and even if you don't switch it, the nice thing about the Laguna is you do have to switch a button to be able to access the controls on the remote. However, the stop button works regardless of which way you have that dial. So I'm going to switch to the remote. We need to go in reverse. This thing needs to be coming this way. All right. Face mask. Sounds like a good idea. The only problem is my tailstock. This remote thing is kind of in the way, but I think I can get around that. I think it might be okay. I've never done this before. We're just learning new things all over the place. Yeah, I think this will work. So the nice thing is I can use the mini hollower. Let's see here, I gotta look at, can't tell which way is plus and which way is minus. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens here. Bring our tailstock up. I mean, the nice thing is, it's not like the piece is probably going to come off and hit me. We need to get a little bit faster here. It is a little bit problematic with this. What I have is the duplicator or whatever things. There's arms on the back of my lathe, and there's this big platform where this thing is that really doesn't make this the most amazing thing to... I just got my fingers in there. I know what you guys are saying. Just do it. Quit talking. It's not that hard, you wuss. That worked easy. That was easy, guys. That was super, super simple. So let's, I gotta use this one. Yeah, that worked fine. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually switch it back because I can come in from this side with the number one hollower. I didn't like the way that felt really uncomfortable trying to use that parting tool. I think I'm gonna take just a little bit more down while I got this set up this way. And then we're gonna switch it back because I'm not gonna have a problem from here on out. This is weird. All right. I feel good about that. Yeah, no, I wasn't giving Carl a bad time. It's actually easier to sit on the lathe. I was just making fun of myself, kind of. Well, why can't I use it on the wrong side? You know, Carl sits on his. And actually, I mentioned that Pinecone lamp project. That's something that I'm probably going to do. The other way to go is I might slide my headstock all the way down to the end. This lathe is awesome because I have a little step thing where I can bring the headstock all the way down to the end and then actually have like a little tool rest platform that's integrated to the lathe. So it's a pretty cool setup. We got some fun projects planned. Problem is, I'm coming up with some really fun, neat, big, different projects, and I'm starting to feel like I'm biting off a lot more than I can chew because it's taking me like a week to get a lidded box made. So some of the things that I have planned are, let's just say, a little bit bigger deal than that. So I'm gonna just kind of come in here. Can you guys see? No. Let's bring you guys back over here, maybe. There. All right. So I got to switch back to the headstock controls. Get this thing, tighten the tailstock here. All right. Number one hollower. Let's do a little bit of hollowing here. I need to get the light on me because I can't see what I'm doing. I love the air hose. That's awesome. That might actually be cool. I didn't think about kind of a little bit of an OG shape. That might not be a bad way to go either. The only issue with this is it's not exactly on the same, you know, trueness as it was on this tenon. But I'm not really going to worry about that, I don't think. I think I'm just going to do my best, and then we're going to kind of sand this. I don't think it's really noticeable or a problem, but just know that doing it this way, things are slightly off compared to if I just mounted this back on the box or something like that and ran everything together. In the end, I don't think it's really going to make a whole lot of difference though. So we're getting there. I think so like I was saying, I am going to leave a little bit of a bump. I don't know if you guys can kind of see really what's going on here. Maybe get you guys on this side of it so you can see the profile. I'm not going to really change much. I'm just trying to kind of take that profile down just a little bit. So I was thinking about maybe doing kind of an OG type thing, but I think what I'm going to do is just try and get this curve to come in and meet up, and then we're still going to have this little kind of a bump platform, but I want to bring it in a little bit further, about maybe halfway the distance to the tenon that's still sticking out, that nub. So we still got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to change the angle of this just a little bit. Make sure that's not hitting. Just a little bit further in, and I need to take a little bit more off down here. I think that's good. I'm gonna have to sand that. I'm not gonna put you guys through that today. We don't have time anyway. But I'll sand this up. I guess the next thing, I can take off the tenon at this point. I don't have a problem doing that before I go. But then once we have that done, what I'll do is I'll sand and get this thing all sanded and polished. And then what I'm going to do is we're just going to have to come in and put a drill drill like a, like a 1/4 inch hole or something like that. That'll accept, that we can put our finial in. And then, like I said, I wanted to make a finial. This is a piece of ash. Make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. Yeah. So I got this piece of ash that I'm just gonna, it's a little bigger than what I need really, but we'll come in and I just want to make it's more of a knob that I want to make. So, maybe about 3/4 the diameter of this. And then what I want to do is ebonize it. I want to make it black. So, and I have a technique that I want to try out and see if it works the way it used to. I had a way of doing this. So I'll do this a little bit different. I might actually just shoot a video of that part, making the finial and then finishing up the box and doing this ebonizing thing. And maybe I'll do that for a video this weekend. Something kind of just simple. I didn't have another video planned. So let's do that. Let's get rid of this tenon. And we can actually also drill it out, I think, at this point. I don't see why not. And then it's just a matter of sanding this thing, getting it ready and polished, and then which I can do on my own time. And then maybe we'll put together a video of making this finial. How does that sound? Finials. I haven't actually made a finial in my life. It's not gonna. I keep saying that, but it's not gonna be this ornate, spirey thing. It's gonna be like more of a knob, just so just so people have something to grab onto with it. This lid just doesn't have any way to kind of grab a hold of it and separate it from the bottom. Clones. Oh man. All right, so just to let you know, I don't want to disappoint anyone with this talk of finials. It's going to be very simple, very on the simple side of things. More like a knobby type thing. Also, I haven't been practicing with, regular gouges at all lately. And so considering I don't really have much experience or like any experience with a detail gouge in the first place, and I don't really turn wood, which is, people say is resin harder to turn than wood. And I say, as long as you have like the negative rate cutter, it's much easier. With wood, you have to worry about grain direction and all that kind of stuff. So there's more to me. There's more to think about when it comes to wood. There's more ways to get in trouble, I think. Let's get a tool rest that's big enough. I think I'm just going to go with my 12-inch. There'll be no question that it's big enough. All right, so let's see here. I think I'm just going to come in with the parting tool, knock that thing down. Seems like the easiest way to me. Feels nice and secure. All right, we're almost there. A knob is a vertically challenged finial. I'm telling you. It's big enough for 8 tenons. Well, yeah, it's a lot bigger. Yeah, I've never really felt the need to make a finial. Like I said, I've made three. This is maybe my 4th lidded box ever, so just hasn't come up. And there we go. And Bob's your uncle. So now I'm just going to come in and make sure that this thing's flat across the face, and then I'm going to drill it out. Probably, well, let me look at this. So like I said, I'm only going to be using, it's not 3/4 of the diameter of this is what I meant, not 3/4 of the length. This was a nice square piece of stock that I had. So it's only going to be like an inch tall, maybe. And I don't know, like 5/8 diameter, something like that. I'll just have to, I'm going to have to eyeball it, but I think that if I just drill a 1/4 inch hole, I think, you know, just a very shallow one, I think that's good enough. And I'll just make a 1/4 inch. Quarter inch tenon on the bottom of that thing. I think I got a little bit of a hump here. I don't want a hump. I ain't making camels. A little bit of a hump. All right, let's see where we're at now. Still got a little bit of a hump. That's better. A nubbin, exactly. I think it's going to look great, Eddie. But we'll see. That's why we experiment. That is why we experiment. Now I'm just making a 1/4 inch hole, not a 1/4 inch finial. Maybe I didn't explain that right. Like I said, I'm going to have to kind of eyeball this and see what I think. What am I doing here? A drill. We're just going to put a little 1/4 inch Forstner bit hole. I think that will, well, yeah. I think that'll work the best. Have a 1/4 inch? How about a 1/4 inch? Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 5/16. I don't know. I'm just going to make a call. I don't know if it's the right call, but it's a call. The only problem is this thing's got a really long spur on it. Might be better to just use a detail tool. I don't have anything that I guess I'll just use a twist bit, because I don't want that big spur going in the middle. You'll be able to see it on the back side of it. All right, so 5/16 twist bit. I know that's kind of pointed, but at least I could, if I really wanted to, get in there and do something with a very small detail tool. And this doesn't need to be all that deep anyway. So let's make sure that you guys can see the drilling. Drill, baby, drill. I'd rather have a kind of a flat bottomed hole, but I don't like the options of drill bits that I have for that. So we're just going to deal with it. I'm not going to drill too deep, and then I'll come in and clean up with a detail tool. If I feel it's really necessary. I have an 1/8 inch parting tool that could probably flatten this out if I really wanted to as well. We'll have to see. What do you guys think? Jamie Page is in the house. What's up, buddy? All right, so there you have it, guys. Took me 3 hours to do not a whole lot, but I did it. And I need a drink. It's hot in here. It's looking pretty good. I think that, I mean, at this point, I'm going to just take this off, because it really doesn't matter about it running true or anything like that. It's not even really, you know, it's not fully true to the rest of this thing anyway. So let's pop this off, and we can actually stick it on the box and have an idea of what we're looking at least. We'll get an idea of where this is going. Oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. Let me get the camera over here and bring you guys around to the front. So far, oh man, I'm all twisted up in my cables. They're attacking me. Jeez. Okay, I'm okay. Let me get the light on this side of the lathe here. I think that'll help. I don't know. It's looking pretty good to me. Oh, we're way too zoomed in for this. I mean, it's just missing a little nubbin knob and some sanding. Let's see, let me get this thing lined up. So there it is. There it is lined up. I mean, we're like so close. We're almost there, guys. But look at that. That's pretty wicked right there. Pine cone. So again, the pine cones were sent in by Stephen Daniels. And we cast it in some. We got some gold. There's some starlight glitter in there, and then let me see. Where are the? There's traces of. What is that called? Traces of interference. I kept wanting to say infinite. Interference, blue. Let's see, where is the interference? There's some. A little bit of interference in that pine cone. See the blue kind of popping out here and there? Pretty wicked. I'm digging it. I'm digging it, guys. We're in the home stretch. I'm going to put this back in my jaws, because next I need to sand this thing up. So we'll get on that. get on that this weekend maybe. I don't know. I guess I need to get that done in the finial too before this weekend. But so we got it back in the jaws. So again, I'm just going to sand this up. We got a 5/16 hole, I believe. Is that what I used? 5/16? I don't know. I put it away, I guess. And then we'll just make a little bit of a nubbin out of this ash. But we're going to turn it black. Now, I think it's going to look good black because the black, it's got black pine cones in it. It just seems to make sense to me. You know? A little bit of a black knob. So, whoo, man. Whoo-wee. I need a drink, guys. So I'm moving over here. So, Jamie with the super chat. I appreciate all the super chats, guys. You guys rock. We'll get back to this. Let me go get my water because literally my throat feels like it's on fire. Oh, whew. You know when your throat gets so dry that it's like cracking and fire breathing? Anyway, so it was pretty fun. I apologize for all the sanding. Like I said, I'm thinking about maybe trying to... I usually don't spray things, finish them on the lathe. I don't know. I don't really like getting lacquer and stuff all over it, but I think I might start trying that out and seeing if we can kind of move some of these projects quicker. It may not be perfect, but at least the nice thing about putting just a spray finish on, even if the finish isn't perfect, it kind of gets you over the hump. Like it's pretty good as long as you just fill it with something. So I might start trying to do that instead. I can always go back and finish the finish later if I want to. But for the live streams, that might move things a little bit faster. Just because it takes a long time to sand, you know, resin pieces like that. Really a lot of time. So anyway, but you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm really digging this thing. It's starting to really come together and look good. So I can't wait to get, you know, just a couple more steps basically at this point. So I'll try and get this thing sanded up. I might actually get the lid like sanded and polished, all that stuff done Friday before we do the stream. Well, that's not going to happen. I have a phone call so I don't know. Hopefully I'll get this thing sanded and polished up before the weekend. And then I'm going to really shoot for maybe getting everything done on Saturday and turning that little knob, finial, whatever kind of thing. I think it's still technically kind of a finial, but it's just going to be a little knob so that people can grab that and take the lid off easier. It should be very simple. There's not a lot to it, so hopefully I can get that video shot, edited, and up. And I plan to ebonize that ash piece, the knob. So it should be kind of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out tonight, seeing this thing come together one more step. So let me stop really quickly here. Yeah, you could put a I don't know how to say that word, cabochon, one of those types of things. Trying to compete with Carl. I know, man. I really don't like it when there's scratches. So I like glossy things. I wish it was easier, you know. Yeah, I do like that idea. I was kind of thinking about that. I was looking at different people's, and Carl was one of them. I was looking at different types of like knob finial type things that people have done, and I actually thought about doing like kind of just a square piece. I think Carl did one of those, and it looks kind of, because this piece to me feels Oriental, Asian. I don't know, just the shaping on it, the colors. To me, it just sort of kind of feels like it's got a little bit of an Asian influence, and so I was thinking about just doing some kind of a, I don't know, thing on there. But then I started kind of looking at pictures and I found a shape that I liked. And it just kind of occurred to me that I think just a knob type thing with some curves, kind of keep the Asian influence in that knob a little bit that's what I'm going to try to do. We'll see if that happens. And then ebonize it, you know, make it black. I mean, you could just spray paint the thing if you wanted to as well, but I have a technique that I've been itching to try. I haven't done it for a while, so we'll see how that works out. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your evening. Cabochon. Yeah, whatever. Cabochon. Cabochon. What are those things? Isn't it like just a rock? Is that what that means? Or does it have to do with a necklace? You'll have to answer that in the chat. But anyway, guys, I hope you had a good time tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And then, like I said, so the schedule, and actually, is Julie still here? I don't know. Yeah, Julie's still here. I'm gonna switch views. So here's your this one. There it is. Is it? Can you see it? Wait, what's going on? Yeah, there it is. There's your sticker, Julie. You got it. It's kind of not the greatest angle, but we got it. I wanted to show you. Anyway, so the schedule for next week, like I said, I'm gonna try to get this little finial knob thing video maybe shot and then up on Sunday. So that's up in the air. Well, hopefully I can get that done. And then next week we're gonna do a live stream. I'm gonna turn the mini Pinecone blurple pen blank that we made from last week. I made this one kind of for myself. So it's got the black and blurple with the little tiny mini Pinecone. So I'm going to make a pen out of that next week on Wednesday. So we'll be back to something that I'm actually pretty proficient at, pen making. So that one shouldn't go too long and we'll have a finished product. And then on Friday, it's the patron stream. So we're going to be doing, we're going to cast a big Pinecone blank. I have a bunch of bags of pine cones from stuff that I didn't really want to use in my pen blanks. They didn't work perfectly for it. So we're going to fill a 6-inch PVC pipe, and what it's going to be is kind of, I'm thinking I want to go for like a lamp type project with pine cones. So that's what we're going to do for the demo for the patron hangout. And then the second half is going to be us doing a little bit of Q&A and just kind of hanging out and chit-chatting. So for all you patrons out there, I'll see you guys on Friday. It'll be Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. For everybody else, if you want to join the fun, you can do so. You can get access and help support the show over on Patreon at patreon.com/nvwoodworks if you want to do that. But don't forget, guys, I always cut out the demo part, edit it down, and then I'll bring it over to YouTube once I've gotten it edited. So it's not like you're going to miss out. It's just if you want to do the live hangout part and the Q&A session, then that's for patrons only. So anyway, I will see you guys, I guess. Let's see, what day is this? That's crazy. So what day is this? Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. What am I thinking? I was thinking it's like the weekend. So what's going on? Today's Wednesday. So I will see the patrons on Friday. Next Wednesday is going to be the pen making. And then hopefully Sunday we'll get the finial. Sorry, I had my days and weeks and everything was all kind of messed up in my head. So anyway, I will see you guys, all the patrons, on Friday, and everybody else. Hopefully I will see you guys down in the comments on the finial video. I'll try and get that thing up for you guys. All right, so have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Have a great evening. Get out in the shop, make something fun, and I will see you guys on the next stream.